Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a place where creatives share their stories. My name is Galina Marquez, and I have another cool story prepared for you today, so let's get to it. Hello everybody and welcome back to In the Art Scene podcast, and this is another episode with another amazing guest who I have no clue about. Except for she had just a couple of amazing shows in San Diego in the Tim Can Museum and San Diego Arts Museum. Marianela, why wouldn't you introduce yourself?
Of course. Okay. First, my name is Marianela de la Hoz. Everybody pronounces it here de la Hoz, but no, it's de la Hoz, like the Wizard of Oz. The H is mute. So I'm Marianela de la Hoz. I was born and raised in Mexico City 66 years ago.
And we can cut that part out if you would.
Okay. Okay. No, I don't mind.
I'm just kidding.
So 20 years ago, I arrived to San Diego with my family. It's 2 children, my husband, 5 cats, and 2 dogs.
5 cats.
Each one of us brought only a suitcase. We sold everything in Mexico. Our house was rented in Mexico City, and we began an adventure here. We made a pact between the family that this would be an experiment, and if we didn't achieve the things we wanted, and if everybody was not happy, maybe we could return to Mexico. So the first 2 years, I remember I cried every day. I didn't want to live in the United States. I loved Mexico City. I had my family, my parents, my friends, my practice, because I had been by then like 10 years painting. I had my galleries. I had been showing my work in museums and cultural spaces. And when I arrived here, I didn't knew anybody, and I had to begin
from scratch
again. Everything from scratch. Scratch.
What was the purpose? What was the reason for you to leave Mexico and move to San Diego? Was it just a spirit of adventure, or?
Yes, it was a spirit of adventure. That spirit of adventure came from my husband.
Okay.
So he wanted to do something else because he wasn't happy in Mexico. I was very happy, but he wasn't. And my daughter and my son said, "Okay, let's try." We arrived. Right? Yes, those husbands. So my daughter began college. She found out about this wonderful thing that you can go abroad and study abroad. So she went to Florence and began studying art restoration, and she was very happy. And she stayed there for 5 years. My son was 10 years old, and he was adapted perfectly in a minute. My husband was very happy. The cats were not as happy. The dogs were not. And I was miserable. But, little by little, after 2 years, and I never stopped painting, because if I stopped painting, I rather die, really. I prefer to paint to eat. So the first time I showed my work here was on a street fair. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do it because, of course, I felt, come on, in Mexico, I have been in museums and I have to show in a fair. No. But my husband said, come on, you have to do it. If you want to be shown here in San Diego, let's do it. So he helped me. And that first time I showed my work, I met my first collectors, which are my beloved friends and have collect my art for 20 years now, 18 years. And I met the first gallery who represent me. And little by little, without me noticing it, I began my career in the United States. So I'm here, and now I have had 2 shows in 2 different museums in San Diego. And for me, that's wow. I cannot believe it, really.
And your work is stunning. Your work is absolutely
Thank you.
stunning. Every single piece has like it's like a letter. It has so many symbols and so much meaning that you can like. I was looking at it. I was reading it. You don't even need to see the title. You're just reading through it. And for some reason, to me, it reminded a little bit of I don't know, maybe not a little, not that little, of Frida Kahlo. Like the collection of the symbols that she would put in her work, to me was very resonant with what you were doing.
Well, talking about Frida Kahlo, everybody says, "Oh, you are inspired by Frida Kahlo," and I say,
"Well,
okay,
who's
Frida
not?"
Kahlo. No, but Frida Kahlo is a goddess, okay? But I am not inspired by her work. We are both, and many other Mexican artists are inspired by folk culture, folk Mexican culture. So if you use a heart, oh, it's Frida. No.
No.
It's Mexican folk culture. And I think that the big difference between my work and Frida's is that Frida spoke only about herself, about her pain, about her tragic life, about Diego, about her abortions, about many things. And I see the world outside of me, and then I try to explain it to myself, and then I paint it. So it's a very different approach to the work. But of course, if you see a heart, it's Frida, because everybody knows Frida.
And then I didn't mean to compare you directly to Frida Kahlo. It's just
no, I know.
I guess for people who are not as familiar with Mexican culture, it's the combination of the symbols in the painting. It's because Frida Kahlo is something that is like on the surface and everybody knows her work.
Yes.
But yes, I was really blown away. Some of the paintings on your Instagram page that I found, the guillotine with a tongue and sweeping stuff under the carpet. I was not even reading the captions. I was not even reading the titles. It's like, wow, I know what she's talking about. So, what is that your biggest inspiration in your work? I know, and you mentioned that you are mostly painting about the world outside of you. So there's a lot of social dilemmas and social justice in your work. Maybe some of the problems that are going on politically and in the world that I saw in your paintings. But can you talk a little bit about your inspiration? Where is it coming from, and what are you trying to convey? What's the message that you're sending to people?
Sure. Well, I remember I was 3 years old, and my grandfather taught me to read. So I was reading these children stories, not the Disney happy endings.
Mm-hmm.
They were terrible. I was reading Perrault and Anderson and Grimm and Colonial, and they were terrible. And I am a very sensitive person, so for me as a child to understand those stories I was reading, I draw something, and then I add a little note for me, and that had been the story of my life. So everything that interests me, that scares me, that hurts me, that comes from news, from books, because I love to read, a conversation like we are having now, my dreams, the music, everything is worth for painting something. So my work has many, 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 many layers, and I'm a storyteller, of course. And sometimes I prefer to bother people to leave scars, maybe. I prefer people to be mad at my work and not saying, "I so beautiful. Look at the detail." No, I prefer to move them and to provoke feelings and to provoke their minds. That's what I want to do with my work, and I have been doing that for many years.
Yeah, obviously successfully. So it sounds to me that this is your way of, in a way, coping with some disturbing things, which especially in the past few years we have been having plenty of.
Oh my!
I have you living in the United States, even though San Diego is such a beautiful, safe bubble. I love it here, but
it is.
But still, we're having all this news, and the last I moved to San Diego in 2015, and 2016 we had an election, and I was thinking like, oh my God, why did I move to the States? So it really seemed like a very, very odd time to move to the United States. And I was absolutely terrified. And to this day, it is like a snowball, like one event after another. And it seems like the world is just falling apart and going bananas completely. So I was wondering how this past few years affected you and your work. It must have been very prolific time for you.
Yeah, that's what exactly. And when the election came, the election you're talking about, I painted a series of like a Comedia del Arte, like and I wrote the theater play. It's like a theater play.
Uh-huh.
And the characters of these paintings are the archetypes of the lawyer, the politician, the doctor, the teacher. And it was all about that election. So the politician, you can imagine who is the character.
Yes.
And he is leading the sheep, and the sheep are drowning in a river. And there's a clown doing, how do you say, malabaris?
Juggling?
But he's juggling. He's juggling with pieces of bread, because, of course, bread and circus and make-believe to the people and distract them. And, of course, getting their votes was one of the first time I painted something about politics, because I was so angry and I had this urge to explain to people what was happening.
Yeah.
So that exhibition, I showed it in Tijuana, in the Secut, and it was wonderful because people really, really resonated with me in many ways. But of course, we are here again.
Yes.
These horrible things are happening. This last show at the Timken is all about women and how women have been mistreated, slandered, ignored, forgotten. And look what is happening today.
Yes.
I cannot believe that they want to take away art, all the things that we have conquered with so many years and pain and strife, and here we are again.
Yes, that's absolutely horrifying. Are you still happy being in the United States?
I don't know, because it's not the United States. You see, I see back Mexico, and Mexico, it's a terrible place now. And well, Europe is not
much better. Yeah.
No, it's the whole world.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm painting the last painting I'm doing right now is the character is one of my grandchildren, and it's Atlas. Remember this Greek character that's carrying the
holding
world,
the
holding the yes, the globe, because it's and he is doomed with that. So my child is a young atlas, and he's carrying a world that's falling apart. And on his feet, there's this glue, and maybe he will try to mend and
Put it back
to do
together.
the fixing, exacting, putting back together the pieces. It's all, and he lives in Sweden. Let me tell you.
Yes,
So
I'm thinking about, yes, this is so true. Having a little baby, we're also thinking that,
no,
yeah, what like we think it is difficult for us right now. When he grows up, what kind of world he will inherit. So yeah.
but you know, I have the hope. I have hope in these new generations, because I talk to them, I listen to them, and they are willing to change things. So I really have hope in your baby, in my grandchildren, in these young people.
Well, it's just a matter of us not screw it up completely until they will be able to fix
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. No, that's why we have to talk, and we
Exactly.
have to raise our voices and to show you with your podcast, with your work, me with my paintings, and to say the things that we need to say.
This is actually very interesting that we're talking about it right now, because uh, before this episode, I was recording another episode with a filmmaker who actually also lives in San Diego right now and who is from Brazil. And we were talking about his movie called Child of Nature. And that's exactly the same message. He was talking about children from all over the world who are they're barely teenagers. They're 10, 13, 15 years old, and they're actually doing something to repair the world, and they're actually trying to connect with one another. They hear each other's stories, and they reach out, and they're trying to collaborate across the globe how to do things to make this world a little bit of a better place.
Yeah.
For children like them and children who are coming after them. That's actually amazing. It's and to me, it's kind of a symbolic that this topic is carried from one episode to another. I think yes, it is very interesting. I think this is a very important point that listeners need to pick up, and especially artists who are listening to this podcast. Our generation, we can communicate with children. We can inspire them to do things better. It starts with us, and then they will carry the torch.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if may I add something?
Of course.
In my work can be very dark, but I have a key. The key is humor. And I think that if we are not able to laugh up everything, laugh about ourselves, laugh about the tragedy, we will not be able to move on. So my work, you can see it. I use a lot of humor, dark humor if you want, but I think that we also need humor.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. Let's take a short coffee break. Are you enjoying this episode? If you do, would you buy me a coffee? I would really appreciate it. The link is in the show notes and on our website, intheartscene.com. Thank you for your support. Hey listeners, did I tell you that we have fun merch? Well, we do. Click shop on our website and check it out. We have tees and hoodies, coffee mugs for your paint water, and my personal favorite, a studio apron. We use fun quotes from real artists, our podcast guests. And the best thing is all items are customizable, so get creative. By purchasing the merch, not only do you support the production of this podcast, but you also help us support art-related nonprofits and community organizations. Thank you for your support. I wanted to also ask you about your process because I know that you're working with egg tempera and you're making it yourself, from what I understand. So this is something, this is the medium that is not very common from what I know. I mean, it exists, and I know of some artists who are doing similar work, but it almost sounds like, wow, she's making her own paint.
When I started painting in Mexico City, every month we have a gathering with young artists, and our tutor, a very well-known painter in Mexico, Arturo Rivera, he was he was seeing my paintings, and he said, "Well, you're obsessed with detail. Have you tried egg tempera?" I said, "Oh, the technique that was used in the medieval times, in the early Renaissance, even in the last periods in Egypt." And he said, "Yes, you should try it." And I asked him, "Can you teach me to do that?" And I said, No, I don't know how to paint in extempore, but I'm going to recommend to you the best teacher you can find. And he gave me the title of a 15th century author, Cennino Cennini, the Il Libro dell'Arte. And that's where I learned how to do extempore, to paint with extempore. Wow. And immediately I knew that that was my media. Why? Because I'm obsessed with detail. Why? I don't know. I was born that way. And egg tempera gives me that liberty to use 3 hairbrush, and I paint very small formats, and to be very detailed with those formats. And of course, the preparing the paintings with all the beautiful colors, the pigments, and then grinding them, and then use an egg yolk is, I don't know, it's like I feel like a witch, maybe, or I love to cook always, and no, I don't know. There's something else for me to prepare the painting. It's wonderful, and I think that adding an egg yolk, it adds I don't know, something more lively to the painting, because it brings like how do you say? My God, I forgot the word. But well, it doesn't matter.
Well, it becomes organic, and they look organic.
Yes, they do. I love the meeting.
I'm wondering. Well, first of all, wow, your egg tempera is a real deal from the 15th century. So you're using that recipe, and it's just mind blowing, honestly. I'm wondering how sturdy egg tempera is. I mean, egg yolk is the organic matter. You're mixing it with
it's the binder for the pigment and distilled water, and you have to paint. Well, you don't have to paint. I paint on prepared wood or panel, and you have to do many layers of gesso, and then sand it perfectly, and then the drawing, and then the painting. And the painting is layers and layers and layers, because it's a very translucent medium. So I think that it's a cathartic media for me, because I'm a crazy person. So for me, being so how do you say, it's like entering a new a world for me. And I paint like this. I don't paint on an easel. I paint. I put the painting on a table, and then even my body it's closed to enter this world. It's like, instead of going and traveling, I travel with my painting. So and I figure out it's almost like weaving the painting. And I love that. And it takes a long time to finish it. A very small piece, maybe I will take 1 month
Wow.
to
That
have it done.
that was my next question. How long does it take you? But yeah, it sounds very much like a meditating process. But I wanted to finish my
It is.
question. How long the paintings would last, given that
Imagine there are sarcophagi from the
uh-huh.
Egyptians that were painted with egg tempera.
So thousands
And
of
if you
years.
see thousands of years,
Wow.
it's a very, very, yeah, it lasts long, long time. And the colors don't change.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we all paint with egg tempera?
Because it takes a long time to finish one piece, and our modern life, it's all like we are rushing. Everything is
Yes.
today. I want it today, and I want to make 10 pieces a day, and everything is running, and I don't need that.
Well, it's very wise. So after these two exhibitions in San Diego, what is the next chapter for you? What work are you planning, and where are you going to show it? What is it going to be about?
I don't have a show right now uh, schedule, but what is for me, it's painting all day, every day, 7 days a week. That's my life. I continue painting, 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 and those are my plans. And something will come. I know.
All right. Well, we will circle back right before this episode is on air, and we'll see what you have, what irons you have in the oven, and we'll make sure to put them in the show notes.
Sure. Of course. Thank you.
Since we are on the topic of what paintings are about and uh, the all the feelings and like the messages that you are communicating, over the years, what was probably your favorite or the most moving from your point of view work that you have done?
That's a difficult question because every piece I love them. It's like having many, many, many children. And who is the favorite? It's very difficult. I I tend to think that the piece I'm working on in the moment is the last one I will ever paint. It's like so the piece is my favorite. The piece has all my attention, and the piece has all my love. So that's what I think of my about all my work.
That makes sense. so the every newest one is the favorite one.
Yes.
I had a go ahead.
Yeah, and it's funny because, for instance, the show at the Timken, it's 22 paintings, and it's the work of 4 years, maybe. No? So when I enter the gallery, I see all the paintings in this beautiful setup in the Timken. The feeling is, really, I painted that. It's like they, like children, they have all gone from my life, and they are making their life by their own, and they have their own voices, and it's a weird feeling, really. A wonderful one, but it's like they don't belong to me anymore.
Yeah, I was going to ask you exactly about that. So, having so much feelings to each one of them, and each one of them being a dear child to you, you still don't have a problem letting them go, let's say, to the collector's home, or uh, so how does that work for you? Because I know of some artists who are very protective, like these are my children, I will never part with them. But for
Yeah.
you, it sounds like it's not a problem.
It's a problem, of course, but as a mother, you have to let them go. And if you're an artist, it's an honor and a pleasure to think that someone else wants to live with one of your paintings, and that person will see that painting every day, and that painting will talk to that person. It's a wonderful feeling. Know that they are living in good houses with
That
good people.
that's beautifully said. It's an honor and a pleasure. Yes, I totally agree with you. What will you say about San Diego? Is again, it's a safe bubble. It's a beautiful place, and we have an amazing creative community, and we have lots of rising young artists. And have you met with any? And what do you think about art scene of San Diego?
I think that in the 20 years I have been here, it has changed a lot.
Is it?
Yes, for me. When I came from Mexico City, I thought, and forgive me, but I thought that San Diego was like a big ranch. Coming from Mexico City, it's full of culture and history and museums, and little by little, I have seen that art has been rising here in San Diego. I have met with many young artists, and it has become a vibrant place to be an artist. I think that maybe I didn't see it when I arrived here because, of course, I came from another place and I have to adapt. But I have seen that it has changed.
Well, I haven't been here as long as you have, but I yeah, I do find art scene in San Diego is really vibrant and really rich. And I could probably make a podcast just about San Diego artists and like have enough content for years to come.
Yes, you have. And good for you. Thank
Yes.
you for doing this.
Uh, what would you say to the young artists in San Diego and beyond San Diego? I mean, pretty much anywhere in the world. Uh, the words of inspiration.
Well, I would say that the most important thing for me is being true to myself, and for every artist to be true to themselves, and to not succumb. You say that word, to succumb to uh, the money, or not the money. Of course, we have to live, we have to eat, but there are sometimes that we forget what art is for, and we are more in the marketplace. So that's one. And the other thing is that you don't make a career in a day. It's a lifetime. You really construct a career, the love for art, day by day, year by year by year, and it's a never-ending adventure. And I find that many, not many, but some young artists want to be rich and famous just after having a diploma. And for me, that's nothing.
This is actually very interesting because I hear very often, and being myself in this space, you're kind of being ripped apart between trying to make a true art, something that is coming directly from you, and then something that people will actually buy that will make you living. Because it is very rare that those two things combine in a perfect situation, and you can make art that you like and people will like it enough and pay you for it. So it is very interesting to hear that from you, with all your experience in two different countries, making successful art career, and also you were saying how you're not rushing your paintings, not rushing an art career. I think it is something that we very often nowadays, especially having all the technology and like we're living in a very, very fast world, it's very easy to forget. It would be nice not to rush your career, but when you're faced with this pressure from everywhere, like the news, the technology, just the whole world is pushing you, like go do this, and if you are not successful by this age, nothing is going to happen, and
Oh my God, that's horrible.
It is horrible.
And talking about that, you say if you're not successful, and what does that mean?
What does that mean?
For me, I'm very successful. Why? Because I can paint every day, and I have been struggling as an artist for many, many, many years. So of course that's what I consider to be successful. And I'm not a very well-known artist, and I'm not in the Louvre, and I'm not in the whatever, or in the Pompidou, or I'm not. Who cares? I don't. I don't. I don't care if I am not everywhere, if I'm not very well known. I don't care if I'm not in the mainstream. I don't. I really. I don't care, because my life is that love I have for painting.
So for you, success is just to be able to paint every day and
Exactly.
paint what you like.
That's yes. And of course, in our world, that's almost impossible, because
Yes.
everything is, yeah. You have to have an impact immediately. You are waiting for that thing to happen today. And I see it, for instance, with my son, and he is doing his PhD in philosophy. So he's another troubled soul like mine,
Yeah.
because he 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 really doesn't know what to do with that, because they are expecting him to move on and to give to publish papers and papers and papers, and he says nobody is reading those papers. So why don't I have the time to do something more relevant, or more uh, thoughtful, or more, I don't know, because they want him to do this every day, every day, every day, and it's exhausting.
It is.
And for me, that's not being successful. Is only achieving things, and how do you say, getting the money and paying for sometimes many things we don't need. They are convincing us that we need a new car, we need a new house, we need the jewelry, we need to be perfect and to be young forever, and to have this buttocks, and I know,
and
please.
and for that
Don't
we
do
need to
that.
hustle. Yes.
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 Exactly.
It
Exactly.
is so true. It is so true. And yet, for many, especially many young artists who uh, maybe don't have an additional income, and I know a lot of artists have like day job, and then their art is some, the minutes they can spare, during the day or during the week. Not everybody has a supporting partner who can, pay the bills and allow them to do their art, do the actual work of their life. So a lot of them become entrepreneurs, because that's
Yeah,
what
I
you
know.
are. You're an artist. You're an accountant. You are your own marketer. You are your
Yeah.
own assistant.
Well,
You,
I started as a graphic designer. I was not an artist in the beginning. And when I made a decision, I talked to my husband, because, of course, we lived with his money, my money, and it was the money of the family. And when I told him, we'll have to, because I don't want to do graphic design anymore. And it has not been easy, not at all, not at all. But we live just once.
exactly. And there are so many important messages to share, right? Who's going to do it if not us?
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, on that note, I run out of questions, and I feel like we had such a heartwarming conversation.
Oh, it was wonderful. As
Absolutely.
always, I was so nervous.
Oh, I hear it. I hear it every time. And I usually say to my guests, like, I'm more nervous than you are, so don't worry about that.
Okay. Let's be nervous together.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Let's have a very awkward conversation. It's gonna be fun. Is there something that you want to say that I didn't ask you about?
Well, not really. I think you asked me what I was expecting you to ask me. We have been through my career, my decisions, my feelings about art, my media. I think we have covered everything.
Well, having two successful art careers in two different countries, how would you feel if, let's say, your husband comes to you tomorrow and say, "Hey, I decided that we're not going to live in the United States with all this, banana situations going on. Let's move to Europe, and you will have to adapt and build your career from the ground up again." How would you feel about that?
Well, I think that now I'm old enough to say, okay, let's do it. And if I can still be painting, let's do it. Let's move. In fact, we sometimes we are thinking maybe we can move to Sweden because my daughter, my grandchildren live there. Who knows? Or to Spain, or I don't know.
Sweden is a wonderful place. A little bit colder.
Yeah, a little bit. Tell me. But I say always, carpe diem. Who knows what future brings us? Let's live today, and let's do it the better and the best we can.
Well, I think that's a wonderful attitude. And to everyone who's rushing through life, trying to be an artist and an entrepreneur, I think this is a great lesson. It's just carpe diem. Whatever happens, happens. We just have to adapt, and don't rush through it.
No. Don't rush.
Marianela, thank you so much for coming, taking your time today. And that was a really heartwarming conversation. I'm so glad that we have met.
Oh, me too. You're wonderful.
Thank you. You are wonderful too. And I'm so glad that we share this creative space in San Diego. We're both a part of this art scene. And we'll keep in touch. And I hope to see more of your exhibitions.
Thank you. Yes, please. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple and go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.